Let's take a look at your MT1 LT6 affirmation. We're going to start with this first question here. And it says, Ashley, it makes this a tad bit bigger so you can read it, but I want to be able to see the whole thing. Ashley earns $11 each hour working part-time at a bookstore. She earns one additional dollar for each book that she sells. Let A be the amount in dollars that Ashley earns in an hour if she sells B books. Write an equation. That's key to what you did wrong. Write an equation relating A to B, then graph your results on the axis. You did the graph correctly, so I'm not going to review that. Equation has an equal sign. Your problem didn't have an equal sign. So I think you're kind of on the right track. It should have been A equals, that's a little thin, I'm going to make that a little bit thicker for us. So A equals 11, because that's how much she earned, plus 1B. Now, you don't have to write the B, or the 1, I'm sorry. You have to write the B. You could write A equals 11 plus B, and you would have had that correct. And that's all we needed for that one. I think you had like A plus 11B or something like that. I don't remember. Let's take a look at another problem here. It says, well, obviously it's a multiple choice question. So if you got it wrong, we know it's the amount of muscle mass. But let's talk about why that is. Said a person's muscle mass changes with age. Muscle mass increases into young adulthood and then decreases. What is the dependent variable? Dependent. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to reword this sentence using the words depends. So I would say muscle mass depends on your age. Age does not depend on muscle mass. Okay? That'd be kind of cool. That that was true, because the stronger you are, maybe you age backwards, but it doesn't work that way. That's all we had to do on that one. You're going to have to redo the question with domain and range, but you did domain and range correctly on paper. You forgot the negative sign on one of your range problems, but you had it right on paper. Unfortunately, I can't just eliminate that when you redo it, so you're going to have to redo that problem. And finally, let's take a look at this question. It says, I think that's Maya. Maya is hiking towards her campsite at a constant rate. A few miles from her campsite, she sees a snake and turns and runs the other way. Minutes later, she rests for a while. Now, let's take a look at what you did. You said she's hiking away from the campsite, and then she stops when she sees the snake. That's not what happens. Let's take a look at part A. She's hiking towards the campsite, then she runs away from the campsite, and then she rests. I think that's what that should be the correct one. Let's take a look at the other one. Here she's just resting. So she's away from the campsite, then she goes away from the campsite, then she rests. And the last one, she hikes away from the campsite, she rests, and she walks towards the campsite. So that's the only choice you can have on that one, is part A. Okay, I'm going to reopen that quiz for you so you can redo that today. And after you do that, you should be able to do LT7, because it's set up, you can't do one until you master the first one.